Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of John Wooden's Playbook for Life and Leadership. I'm Maria Kutcher. I'm your division sales manager, and today we have number 9 out of 12 on condition and skill. And again, we have Coach Craig Impleman here to lead us through this wonderful journey and to kick off 2022 on the right foot. Without further ado, Coach Imp, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. We are on meeting number 9. Coach Wooden is putting us through the process. We did the foundation, the bottom row there. You got to work hard. You got to plan well. You got to have a positive attitude. You got to get along well with everybody. I thought that was going to be it, Coach. No, Coach Wooden said there's more. You have to have great self-control, emotional balance. And then you got to be alert, constantly learning. And then when you've learned everything, then you got to start making decisions using that alertness and self-control. And then when your decision doesn't work, you never, ever quit. And Coach says, team, I'm just getting started. I got goosebumps because now we go to the heart of the pyramid. And that starts out with condition. Coach Wooden, we're with you.
The next tier, I had 3 blocks. One is condition, one is skill, and one is team spirit. You must be conditioned for whatever you're doing. Not just physically conditioned. Well, you must be mentally conditioned. You must be morally conditioned. You can't attain and maintain desirable physical condition unless it's preceded by mental and moral conditioning. And you can all attain it if you so desire. There's no sacrifice in spite of what some might think. Just practice moderation in all the things you do, and you can attain the physical condition that is essential. Perhaps not perfection, but we're all imperfect. We shouldn't expect perfection, but we should be working toward it as much as possible. So it is so important that we be conditioned, whatever we're doing. Teachers are conditioned differently from football players. Football players are conditioned differently from deep sea divers. Be conditioned for whatever you're doing.
Coach Maria, give us your thoughts.
Oh, wow. I mean, what a great topic to kick off the new year, especially as mostly everybody, I think you and I and everybody that we know really tries. We hear the word New Year's resolution and it forces us to really take a look at ourselves and what are we going to do to be better? Get better every day, right? Hashtag. Physically, mentally, morally, and not just drop it on average on January 19th when they say the gym memberships and the attendance stops. But really, what do we need to do to really sustain this all year long? So looking forward to seeing and hearing more about condition and skill here today. Back to you, Coach.
Maria, your timing is great. And I think we've got to remember, how can we improve our mental conditioning? That's a great question. And your mental and moral conditioning are a result of the values that you live by, that deliver your behaviors. And it's also a result of the examples that you follow. We love this poem. I'm not going to read it, from John Wooden, but it says it all. Let's hear from Coach Wooden what he learned from his father as an example. Coach?
Coach, you grew up in rural Indiana. Who was the greatest influence on you growing up?
Well, my father, unquestionably, my father, to this day, I think is one of the finest men you could possibly be. He never had an unkind word to say about anyone. He never used a word profanity. He never complained about things, and he had reason to, I believe, on a number of occasions, but he just wouldn't do that. And with him, my brothers, he had 3 rules. He said there should be time for play after the chores and the study is done. And he tried to impress that on me and my brothers at all times.
Maria, John Wooden said his father never had an unkind word to say about anyone. Over to you.
Wow, I think this is a great part right here because mental and moral conditioning really comes from those that had good influence in your life. And for John Wooden, it was definitely his dad, repeating the philosophy, the values of the household, and really able to enable him to, go through, life's thick and thins, right? On high ground. And, as you think about where you are today, it brings to mind this quote that I keep hearing and seeing all over the internet, and it really is true. And I stop and I pause every time I see this, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And we know what a moral compass is. We know mental conditioning. We know when we're not in that good mood, when we're letting stress get to us. And who do we need to be around? We need to be around the people that help us get out of that, and that have the right attitudes and have the right morals, so that we can constantly get back to our happy place, right? So if you're not happy and you don't have that conditioning that you think you need, you probably better work on those 5 friends and the 5 people you're spending the most time with, if possible. Back to you, Coach.
Yeah, Maria, you're right. And here's a good test for those 5 people. If they do these 6 things, they're probably some good people to hang around. Coach Wooden, tell us about these 2 sets of 3s, please.
Now, did he offer any specific, for example, I've read before about some rules that he offered to you, or a creed to live by?
Well, first of all, it was 2 sets of 3s he gave us. One was don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. And he said, if you don't lie, you won't have to remember what you said. And that's pretty good. And the other was don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses, just do the best you can.
Maria, give us your thoughts.
Wow. I mean, it
Please.
really comes to mind with, what is the beacon that you have? What is that shining light that you have in front of you that really helps you to stay the course and, and live life to its fullest? So our minds are really mentally and morally able to be constantly improved and conditioned upon. And everybody needs, if you don't have a person in your life to really fulfill that, there are other ways. And I think of myself and the ways that I use and the methods that I use to improve conditioning. And as you can see here, there are podcasts, there are books, there are just time with friends and family. But what I wanted to point out mostly is that there are these Wooden's wisdoms issues that are phenomenal, right? They're short, they're sweet, there's how many of them? There's 592, I believe, out there, and filled with just stories and examples on how to increase mental and moral conditioning. And given the time that we're in right now with COVID, the crisis, the stress, the isolation, right? We need this more than ever. And so do our clients and our advisors and our advisors' clients. So when they are stable, they can help others. It's kind of like on that airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you help your kids. And so this can really help the advisors help their clients and families. Back to you, Coach.
Great point, Maria. And in terms of going back to this idea of a beacon, the beacon that John Wooden was given was on a little card when he graduated from grade school that his father wrote out. And the title of the card was actually 7 Things to Do. So I don't know what your 7 things to do. For John Wooden, this was his 7 things to do. And the one that comes back to me all the time in thinking about him is number 2, because he lived his life to help others. Coach, talk to us about that.
The second one was help others. And I dare say that everyone in here today, if you just stop and think, your greatest joy comes when you've done something for somebody else. There's no greater joy to learn that something you've said or done has been meaningful to others, especially when it was done with no thought of something in return.
Maria?
Yeah, I mean, that is the ultimate greatest joy, is just knowing that you've helped somebody achieve something, get out of a rut, made their life easier, put that smile on their face. It is just pure joy. And it really is. My philosophy is just really trying to live an attitude of gratitude and recognition. I believe recognition is huge. It brightens people. It doesn't cost any money, right? It is free. It's free to share, just to share your thoughts of how other people make your life easier, that you're thankful that they came to help, that you're working with them. There's so many ways to thank your colleagues, your friends, your family, even a stranger, as you said, at a checkout line, just to brighten their day and put a smile on their face is one of the greatest gifts that we have, that everybody has and can use more. And especially in current times, we could use this a lot more. So thanks.
We have the one a day club, which means you just do one thing a day, at least, for somebody who could never repay you. And it doesn't have to be, you could let somebody go in front of you in a checkout line, like you said, or put a smile on a face, the lady at McDonald's, at a fast food, and, don't make up phony compliments, but just get it done early in the day and then just keep going. And you walk around with a smile on your face all day long. And your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions, and your actions become your habit of putting a smile on other people's faces you don't even know. And that becomes your character. That's your mental, that's who you are. And that becomes your destiny. I think that the quality of conversations that you are having with your friends, your family, at lunchtime, at the water cooler, have a huge impact on your mental conditioning and your character. Binging on The Bachelor or Kardashians to Hollywood is probably not going to be what Eleanor Roosevelt had in mind. Look at that first thing right there. Great minds discuss ideas. Shallow minds gossip. Let's hear Terry Donahue and John Wooden have 2 minutes conversation that's going to give you great mental conditioning. You're going to feel great after you listen to two people discuss ideas.
Coach, I've heard you say that Abraham Lincoln and Mother Teresa were two people that they're two of your favorite people, and you learned great lessons from both of them. Could you share that with us?
Well, Abraham Lincoln is my favorite American, and so many things about him, the immortal Gettysburg Address, beautiful, beautiful, more than many volumes. And I think his second inaugural address is wonderful too, with malice toward none, with charity for all, and so many other things that he said. I told Bill Walton the other night when he spoke, I thought at length a little too much. And he quoted me, and he quoted me a lot of Lincoln quotes that I'd used at the time, and I said, Bill, you failed to use one of the Lincoln quotes that's very important. He said, what was that? Well, he said, it's better to keep quiet and let people think you are a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt. You ought to think of that. But both of them lives were completely devoted for others. Lincoln, the most difficult time in the history of anyone, I think, in our country, when our countries went against each other. And but he never lost his common man approach. He was just at the end of that terrible war between the states, when he was being criticized by the Secretary of State, then you're supposed to, they're talking about retribution. He said, you're supposed to destroy your enemies, not make friends of them. And his answer, of course, was, am I not destroying an enemy when I make a friend of them? And he said, the best thing a father can do for his children is love their mother. He said, the worst thing you can do for those you love are the things they could and should do for themselves. He said, it's better to trust and be disappointed once in a while than to distrust and be miserable all the time. And honey, my daughter, please try to remember that one. There's so many things like that. And of course, Mother Teresa, the same one. If anyone ever She said, life not lived for others is not a life. And if anyone ever truly lived their life for others, it was Mother Teresa. And I'd say she's the person for whom I have the most respect and admiration that's lived in my lifetime. Lincoln is my favorite American.
Maria, I feel better listening to that. That was great mental conditioning.
Wow.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, as I think what are on everybody else's mind is they're reflecting on who are their most influential people in their lives, right? And who have they been? Who are the mentors that demonstrate caring for others and living life for others, right? And having that moral compass in front of them all the time. And Lincoln and Mother Teresa, I mean, come on, those are the best. But I think I have one. My personally is my husband, and I can't think of a better person that illustrates the solid moral compass and mental conditioning. And that's why I married him, because I could use that help. And he's good for me, right? You always want to marry up. and whether they're your and friends are the same reason, right? Friends, your colleagues, the people that you work with. Again, surround yourself with those people that are the best influencers on your life, and you know who those are, right? So great stories. Thank you, Coach.
We're gonna have to make sure that Gary, who is an amazing human being, that he gets to watch this recording. He love that, and I know it's true. I was listening to that, and we taught at our basketball camps the youngsters that when you make a friend out of an enemy, you destroy the enemy, and we had them apply that at school. If somebody was not being nice to them, and I'm proud to say my two sons. You can't make an enemy out of them, because they're going to try to make a friend out of you. And they got that from their papa, who got it from the great Abraham Lincoln. Coach has asked a great question here. I'm just going to quote it. That was, what did he think his biggest influence was in the moral development of his players? So here he is at 90 talking about that. Very profound.
We were wondering, what lessons relating to moral development do you think will stay with your athletes the longest and benefit them the most throughout the rest of their lives?
By the way I tried to conduct myself and the love I had for my family and friends. I think there again, it goes back to example. I believe that would be. I love poetry, and I hear a number of my players write me things in verse. And one that I got recently, the last verse was, I found love once, 'twas not pretend, he was my coach, he is my friend. That's pleasing to me more than the score of any basketball game. And I think that the example that I would try to set in my life, both on and off the basketball court, would be more important than any of the basketball fundamentals that I might be able to teach.
Wow, I want to set a better example. Maria, over to you.
Wow, what an amazing person he is. And again, it all comes down to, when I hear him, it's leading by example, and people act and people change their behaviors because they're feeling it from inside, and they know that they should probably be taking this course of action versus what they did previously. And by constantly observing Wooden, being the example on and off the court, how he loved and treated others, right? It wore off on them. They saw that, they observed it, right? And it changed them. And it's because it's how they felt inside, and it came from their heart. And when you can touch somebody's heart, that's what's going to change their actions and their behavior for the better. And this quote comes to mind just beautifully. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, right? And in our industry, you know, our customer, it is so true for our customers, right? We can just go through the methodical, you know, activities of processing and, you know, planning, but it's really how we make them feel about their future, their ability to take care of others, their ability to give back and have impact in the world, and what they do with their wealth. That's how we make them feel. And it just really comes together very nicely. So thank you for that. Back to you.
Following up on that, Maria, I think it's important to always remember the tremendous impact your tone of voice has with how you make other people feel. And that's you know, enough said. I added this in because we're talking about mental conditioning, and I'm always telling youngsters to be more concerned with their character than their reputation. And, you know, with been doing that for 40 years, and now we got social media and Instagram and likes, and man, if you're letting that stuff move your head around, that's not good for your mental conditioning. So keep your focus on your character, not your reputation, and that'll help make your mental conditioning rock solid. Skill. You can read the definition. Let's see what Coach has to say.
And we must have the skills. You must know what you're doing, know how to do it, and then you better be able to do it quickly, or you might not get to do it at all. I think some of you have experienced driving on the freeways here in Southern California. If you can't react quickly, you might know what to do, but if you don't do it quickly, you wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't either. So it's the same thing. I had some basketball players that used to yell, they're great shooters. Oh, gracious sakes, I had some players that could really shoot. I remember them so well, but they weren't quick and couldn't get any shots, so you don't know them. They didn't get to play. But I had some others that could get all sorts of shots. Gracious, they were quick, but they couldn't shoot. And that didn't help us either. You're going to be able to do things not only properly, but quickly. I take a brain surgeon. He might come up with something unexpected, and if he can't do it quickly, you'll lose the patient. Could be an attorney could lose the case, and you better be able to do things quickly as well as properly.
Maria?
Wow. I mean, it really is. When we talk about skill, it really comes down to practice. How do we develop our skills and how do we do things quickly, right? It takes practice and practice. And again, lovely quote here, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is practice. And so it's always be learning, right? Being proactive, getting ahead of the learning curve, setting trends, helping others and teaching others, but you know, raising the bar on yourself constantly is what skill is about through constant practice. So thanks for that. Back to you.
Yeah, you got to, you know, as we're pointing out, you've got to have the conditioning. This is a linear learning lesson. You have to have the conditioning in place in order to practice properly. And speaking of properly and quickly, John Wood's Basic Fundamentals on Skill, you can see the first one right there, one of his favorites, be quick, but don't hurry. Here's Coach with the head of Chick-fil-A talking about that very important idea.
In our business, the sense of urgency is very important. You've got a customer at the counter, at the drive-through window, in a food court, sense of urgency really matters. You have this phrase that you use often, be quick, but don't hurry. What's the essence of that?
Well, at times, if we start hurrying, we make mistakes. We're more apt to make mistakes. But on the other hand, if you're not quick, you may be too late and you might not get it done. For example, I had some players that were very quick. Oh, boy, they're quick. They could get all sorts of shots, but they couldn't shoot. That didn't help us. Then I had some others that were great shooters. Oh, boy. But they weren't quick, couldn't get any shots. They didn't help us either. So you've got to figure out where you have to be quick. You have to know what to do, but you have to be quick to do it, or you might not get to do it at all. And I think that's very important. I think That's important in most everything. Don't hurry. You make mistakes when you hurry. Be under control. I want quickness under control.
Quickness under control.
Yeah, otherwise you'll have activity without achievement. And I don't care for activity without achievement. I want something too.
We hear a coach at the end bringing that around to that other quote, don't mistake activity for achievement. Maria.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I'm just thinking about what we do in our business, and that's exactly the message here is it's the client experience, right? Clients want to feel that the advisor has things under control. They want things done promptly, and they want it done accurately without error, right? Especially when we're talking about their wealth and financial, stance here. And that the teams must be well coordinated to really maximize the efficiency of the team. So it really is a team approach to be able to understand each team member's skill sets, right? And complement and make sure that there are the skills that are needed to work with a particular type of client. And then each of those team members knows what they're good at, knows what their role is, and knows how to execute and continue developing those skill sets so that they can work with not only the clients, but their parents, their children, and add more clients into their queue efficiently and effectively. So it all comes down to really honing in and improving that skill set.
And Maria, the perfect logic of John Wooden, the magnificence of the pyramid is that the next block to the right, which will be week 10, is team spirit. But team spirit has to be preceded by skill and condition. It's not just some mission statement that you pull out of the air. Being prepared and covering details like you like to do with your clients, Coach Wooden was a master. Let's hear him talk about how he ran practice.
One other question in relation to what you said earlier about how much you enjoyed practice. What would be some things if you were to talk about quality practice and what goes into that from a psychological perspective? What would be some things you'd talk about?
Start on time, close on time, close on a high note, have it carefully organized so you don't waste any time, move quickly from one drill to another, have everyone, the other people working with you, whether it be assistant manager, knowing what's coming up, I was called a 3x5 man because I had little cards that the managers had, assistants had, and I had, and we moved quickly. When I blew the whistle, I wanted everybody to stop right now, not take another shot or two or do this or that. They stop, and I tell them what the next drill is. They know where they're going to go to run organized, so you can get more done in less time. And I wanted the players to know that they will not keep them over. They will start. We'll start on time and we'll stop on time.
Yeah, and the players always talk about how great that was. They didn't feel like they had to hold back because they knew that coach was going to stop on time. Mm-hmm. Maria, what do you think about this as a organizational model?
Yeah, I with all the teams that we have in the division here, it really, I think those are really key words to live by here. Keep things exciting on your team, short huddles, to the point, be active, close on a high note. So as you're doing your weekly huddles or daily huddles, have a little quote at the end or something to pump them up, and, doing the little clap, right? And just get everybody excited to work together and to work with clients. And of course, start and end on time. And one of the ways that can really enhance the teams here in the West, in my humble opinion, are those Wooden Wisdom blogs. They're 3 minutes each. So be like that. We don't need to be a 3x5 card these days. We don't use 3x5 cards. I do sometimes. I do flashcards still when I'm studying for an exam. But for the most part, think of it as more 3 to 5 minutes. So we want to be 3 to 5 minute people, not 3 to 5 cards, 3x5 cards. And 3 to 5 minutes is, writing a blog that takes 3 minutes to read, just like your Wooden's Wisdom blogs are all 3 minute reads. You can do the advisors can do the same thing for clients. They can do 3-minute podcasts. They can do 5-minute, conversations or huddles, or just really quick, but to the point, and keep it exciting. And that's how you keep your team engaged and full of energy.
Team spirit.
There you go.
Coach Wooden was able to get his players to be intense, but keep their emotional balance. Let's hear about that.
Our question is, did you use the same pregame speech every time you went out there, or was it game specific to the team you were playing that day?
Well, this may be strange to you, but if you'll talk to my players, you'll find out that I seldom had a pregame speech. So that's I didn't believe in the fiery type. If you watched my teams, you're not old enough to, but if you did, those you did, you didn't see my teams coming rushing out on the floor. You didn't have to worry about being in the hall. They're not going to knock you down, because I wanted to see that energy until they start the game. I don't. You'd see no rah-rah in the dressing room, and you'd have to talk to my players. I didn't believe in that.
My question has to do with leadership or coaching under pressure, and I'm interested in what you did during timeouts at critical moments.
I wanted to stay away from highs and lows. I've always been against peaks and valleys. I think for every peak, there's going to be a valley. So at a timeout and halftime, and I think the two young men over here that played for me will tell you this, that we wanted it to be businesslike. I didn't want it to be highly emotional. I wanted to try to go over the things that would be helpful.
Maria, I'd imagine that your teams are under pressure every day.
Under pressure every day, the market's highs and lows, right? And it's super important to really be able to stay calm, cool, and collected for our clients, and really just think of the game plan and the playbook that we have for clients, and keep them in check as well, because a lot of clients, there's a lot of behavioral finance biases in our industry, and one of the biggest ones is called overconfidence, and that's when the over exuberance of winning on an investment bet, if you will, or an investment really gets an investor overexcited. They know that they feel much more confident that it was their pick and it was their, they knew it, they had that feeling, but what that can happen is lead to ultimate disappointment too, when the stock comes down and hits that valley, and all of a sudden you're dealing with these highs and lows of clients' emotional imbalances that is not healthy, right? So what we want to do is kind of stay the course, keep in check, and be consistent with their investment strategy in particular financial buckets that we utilize here that fit an investor's risk profile. And what I say at the end of the day, it's be Sully, be able to land the plane in the Hudson River when a flock of birds have just killed both engines, right? That's who we want to be, calm, cool, and collected. I think the only words he said to passengers over the intercom as the plane was coming down was 3 words. He turned on the intercom and he said, "Brace for impact." And that was it. So landed the plane beautifully. And because he had a clear head, he was calm, and he knew that he could do that, and he landed him. And it's one of my favorite stories ever. So that's what we need to do. And avoiding the peaks and valleys in our roller coaster minds here is something we need to constantly be aware of and work on. So thank you for that. Back to you.
To be Sully on the Hudson, you have to have great time management. John Wooden wrote that he felt his greatest strength was his time management. Not his teaching skill, not his recruiting, great, but he did believe he didn't waste any time. The best thing I've ever seen on time management is from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He wrote a follow-up book called First Things First. And this is the Covey quadrant that I think you can start using immediately. You're not going to get more than 24 hours. That's not going to go up. You're not going to have less things to do. That's going to be there. The key for Wooden, the key for you is to prioritize what you're doing. There's 4 boxes. Quadrant 1, top left, urgent and important. And to the right of that is where John Wooden lived, quadrant number 2, which is not urgent, but important. Where he didn't dilly-dally with don't mistake activity for achievement is in numbers 3 and 4. 3 is not important, but urgent. Other people trying to make things urgent, they're not. And 4 is when you're just wasting time. You want to go binge Kardashians and Hollywood, or Kardashians do Hollywood and The Bachelor and all that. It's fine. Just know you're wasting time. And you got to get the time in number 2 to fix the things that are in number 1. If you got 10 things in number 1, you want to get those fixed for the long run so they're over in 2. Otherwise, you're going to run around putting out fires all day long. Maria, what are your thoughts about this quadrant system?
I think it's the best visual representation of time management as well. So thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I think that this should almost be printed out and laminated and put on everybody's desk on their wall, especially if we're working from home. We can have a lot more things on our walls at home that nobody will ever see. So that's nice. But I do totally agree that if we can just really focus on getting some white space back in our life, instead of going from Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, and really focusing on what is important and what needs to be planned for, so that we can eliminate that urgent, the fire drills that really take us away. And especially if it's not even our fire drill, it's somebody else's fire drill, right? That's not even ours. So I guess the questions to ask are you eliminating the unimportant that others are making urgent for you, right? Are you eliminating the unimportant and not urgent, right? The quadrant 3, all those interruptions and the emails that I just want to bring this back to the top of your inbox in case you didn't see it. No, I did see it and I haven't replied. That's why. It's not important and it's not urgent, but to you it is, right? And finally, are you freeing up time, right? Are you freeing up time so that you can plan and operate where it's not urgent, but it is important, right? And that's the time for your mental, moral, and physical conditioning, right? Taking time, getting to the gym, waking up early, or doing it after, or taking that walk during the lunch break, right? Are you spending the time with family and friends that you need to? Are you cultivating relationships with your clients and getting to know them deeper, with getting to know their kids, right? The kids that will be inheriting those assets. Are you developing relationships with the next generation? Are you teaching them the basics of mortgages and finance and buying a car, spending time with them to show them that you care, right? They will stay with you more than likely if you show, if you help them through their life cycle and what they're going through right now. So take a look at all of these quadrants and really do what you can. I think that's the perfect place to be in quadrant 2. And planning, again, will eliminate and minimize anything that comes up urgent, because that's quadrant 2 can be thought of also as your risk management bucket as well. So you're planning for maybe some, unexpected things, and you can help, mitigate that so they don't come back and take, all the time. So great visual. And I am definitely going to be using this in 2022 and beyond. So thanks for sharing. Back to you.
And you'll get a copy of the PowerPoint every week, and the slide is in there so you can refer back to the points that Maria just made. Biggest thing to know, we said it over and over again, most important person you coach is yourself. Here's our key takeaways. I'm not going to go through them. They're all involved in your habits that you can go through. You're getting a 65-page workbook, I think, with about 30 articles on mental conditioning, and just going to continue to give it to you and give it to you. And somewhere along the way, I hope you take advantage of it. I will say number 8 is a huge takeaway. try to live, my partner Ron Yee and I, when we work on, Ron is one of the genius behind all this, and we work on these things, and we'll start working on next month tomorrow. And we're always trying to make sure we stay in quadrant 2. We don't want to end up in 1. It's no fun. You're going to get your habits and quotes. I hope you're taking advantage of it. Make sure you do your scoring. Maria, you picked out the one I picked out as well. And that is to take at least 15, 20 minutes a day to rest your mind, meditate, reflect. Really important for mental conditioning. And remember, the best way to improve the team is to improve yourself. In skill, we've got a number of quotes, not as many, less and less as we go up the pyramid. And this is a really great idea, to be intense, but keep emotional balance. And we've got the great quotes to pick from. And of course, I think I came up with Coach Wooden's favorite, be quick, but don't hurry. Your challenge is to do something with all this material. That's just simple as that. Improve one thing, and nothing more. We got a great, I'm giving away another John Wooden. I'm down to 3 in the family archives. This stuff isn't on eBay, believe me. This is the opening of Nell and John Wooden Court poster, suitable for framing, signed by John Wooden. And there's your trivia question. Get it over to Maria. John Wooden said that his father never had and then you have to fill in the blanks. And that'll be your mental conditioning. If you're watching this as a recording, we're not going to tell you. You're going to have to figure that one out. There's your resources. There's your takeaway. Maria, back to you, and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. I loved this month's pyramid blocks and can't wait to start working on this and sharing them with my team as well. So I really appreciate all that you do. Again, the leadership library is there for you. The weekly Wooden's Wisdom blog is also available for you. Really, I encourage you to take advantage of the playbook. And again, Coach Impleman's available for executive coaching at any time. So feel free to reach out to him, give him a call, or send him an email with anything that's preventing your team from reaching the success that you need to be here in 2022. So thank you so much. And we're signing off here with another edition of the John Wooden Playbook for Life and Leadership. Here's to your success, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye now.